Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Steve's Trains, and today I'm going to be working on building a control box for the mini N-scale layout that I've been working on over the past year or so. And to do that, what I'm going to be doing is basically repackaging a couple of these Kato power packs and combining that into one single black project box and adding in a few toggles for controls for switches and lights. And you may think it may be a little bit difficult to get two of these inside of this one box, but the reality is with a basic DC power pack, there's really very little inside of here, and so it is pretty easy to repackage these into a much smaller area, especially if you're combining more than one unit. Now I've already taken one of these apart, and basically I pulled off the control knobs and unscrewed the back, and what you end up having on the inside is this. You have basically the controls for the, this is a rotary switch for the direction control. You have the control for the speed, and then there's a reset button attached there. You have the power in, and then you have power out to the track and power out to accessories. And so there's really, in terms of volume of stuff, there's really not a lot there. And in this project box that I have is certainly very large, or large enough. This box measures roughly 4.5 by 3 by 7.5 inches, and I should be able to get everything in here okay. I just purchased this box off Amazon, and you know, this looked to be a size that would probably work okay. You could certainly do smaller or larger. I actually did pick up a much larger box in case I needed it, but I don't think I'll need something that big. This one, as you can see, is a good bit smaller and also not as deep. And so I think everything should fit in there without too much difficulty. So first off, I'll just show you how to take apart one of these power packs. And to take off the knobs, it's pretty straightforward. You just pull them straight off. Nothing complicated about that. And then to remove everything else, you need to remove 4 screws from the back. These are located underneath these rubber feet, and so you need to kind of pry those out. I'll just use the utility knife here to kind of get that going a little bit. And you can, I may actually go ahead and I'll probably go ahead and save these and reuse them on the bottom of this box that I'm building. So those pop off easily enough. And you notice that once you pop these off, you still have black plastic here. And again, this, you know, once you go through this, you've essentially voided your warranty. So there's no going back if you ever want to have any work done on this unit. But it's real thin plastic. You can just poke through it right with your screwdriver, and then it's a simple basic Phillips screw in there. And then you can pull the unit apart. The bottom side, the electronics are held on by another single Phillips screw, and then everything else just slides right out. It's not attached to anything. The accessory wires have to be cut because they're soldered on, and there's no real easy way to remove these. And then you have your track plug here, and then your 2 controls on top are just, let's use these, it'll be easier than getting a pair of pliers. You just have to take off these 2 nuts. Just get them loosened a little bit. And those pop out. There's a couple washers. We'll save those. And we're done. So that's all the internal electronics that we will be repackaging. Essentially, all I'll be doing now, it would be certainly cheaper to just to build this yourself from scratch. There aren't really that many parts, and you can do it fairly cheaply. But you know, it's just faster and easier this way. You know, it costs a little bit more money, but I probably wouldn't have maybe if I had to actually go out and buy them both. But anyway. At this point, it's just really a matter of repackaging it into this unit. We'll basically need to match the hole sizes for the controls and decide on our layout. And then the other important thing to do, besides putting in holes for the power in and reset buttons and that kind of thing, is to add in ventilation. And you are going to build up some heat inside of this unit when everything is powered on, especially if it's powered on for a long period of time. And so it is important that we provide ventilation for that hot air to escape. Now you'll notice the original unit has ventilation on both the bottom and the top. This would theoretically allow for airflow to flow in from the bottom and the hot air to escape out the top. And so that's sort of a good pattern to follow for recreating that on here. And so what we'll need to do is essentially create a line of holes on the bottom of the unit as well as what the top is going to be, and that will allow for some airflow through the unit to allow the hot air to escape and some cooler air to flow back in and keep the internals from getting too hot. And the next thing to do before I go ahead and start drilling holes for ventilation will be to decide how I want to lay out the throttle controls. Now, to take a step backwards here, what I'll be doing again is I'll have two sets of controls, because I do have the bottom loop of the layout and the top loop of the layout, and then I do have three switches, which are, they're very easy to throw manually with your finger, but since they are wired, I might as well go ahead and throw some controls in there. And so I'm just using these simple, these are basically dual pole, dual throw, momentary contact or momentary toggle switches, and so you can push from one side to the other, but they immediately snap back to the off position in the middle. And I picked these up from Pfeiffer Hobby Supply. You can also get them on Amazon. And then I do have another toggle switch for controlling the lights and switching those on and off on the structures and the street lights and so forth. So anyway, here's how I basically do plan to have everything laid out. I plan to use to have the controls from one pack on one side, the other on the other. In the middle will be the controls for the turnouts, and then the on-off switch for the lights on the layout, the street lights and building lights and so forth. That will be controlled that way. I will have all the cables that go out to the layout coming out of a hole on this side somewhere of the box, and then I'll have to have the plugs for the power in on one side as well. And okay, so first step, since I have my layout design here how I'd like it, I can go ahead and just to make sure that things are more or less even, to keep things looking a little bit better, I'll find locations that are the same on both sides, so I don't have one control a little bit higher than the one on the other side and that kind of thing. So now basically it's just a matter of coming through with my drill and drilling out the correct diameter holes to match what is on here. And these appear to be, looks like we got nearly 3/8 of an inch there and about a 1/4 inch on this one. So now I'll need to go ahead and add the holes for all of the controls for the switch machines. And again, just kind of review how I'll be placing these. I may go ahead and add a track diagram down the road here, so I'll kind of put these in a position to where that will line up. so there's what the final control box will look like. Minus, eventually I'll put on I'll print out a sheet of paper that has labels and everything, and probably a track diagram, and then I'll go on top of here first with some type of a laminate. Put a clear piece of laminate plastic on top of that to protect it, and then reapply the knobs and everything. But this is how the layout will look like once everything is complete. And so you'll have the two throttle controls here side by side, so you can actually hand hold it and control both if you wanted to do that. And then you'll have the momentary switches here for the turnouts, and then the on-off switch for the street lights. Okay, now that I have all the controls installed in the top of the control box, before I can work on attaching any wires, I do need to get all the wires from the layout into the box to make those connections. And so I do have this cluster of cables or wires that are coming from the layout, and those will go into a hole here in the bottom portion of the control box. But I do want to dress up the wires and put them in a nice cable sleeve, so it just looks nicer. And to do that, I taped all the wires together at the end with a single wire coming out to try to make it a little bit easier to get through this sleeve. And so at this point, I have to feed this single wire through this sleeve, and I already started doing that. And so basically it's just a matter of inching this wire along, kind of pushing the wire through and pulling the sleeve, kind of like if you're trying to put a drawstring back into a hoodie or something like that. And get this cable all the way through here, and we'll see if I can. The sleeve does stretch quite a bit, so it can actually, even though it's not very wide, it can take, as you can see here when it's bunched up, it gets pretty large. And so it can take a decent diameter of wires. Okay, so now it's going over the actual wires here, as you can see. And then I have to just slide this all the way through the whole length of these cables to the back of the layout. And then just wrap some electrical tape around the end of the cable sleeve and the wires there to help prevent that from fraying back. Now that the wires are installed from the layout into the control box, I will make the holes for the power feeds, and to make that easier, I'll just go ahead and cut a notch for each one here, and then this way I can just slide them in this way so they'll sit on the top of these, the bottom portion of the box. Here, and it lines up reasonably well. I'll need to go ahead and make the plug-in for the other one, and then I also need to make a hole for the reset buttons, and so I'll go ahead and do that. Now the only thing left to do is to wire up the controls. Well, these are already wired up. It'll just be a matter of connecting the throttle output and soldering that to the input from the layout, and then wiring up the toggle switches, which will be the only thing that's a little bit more complex. And I'll go through how I'm wiring all that up and show you all that in the next video, and then we should be done with the control box, and we should be able to run the trains using this new control box. So that's all for now, and thanks for watching. Bye.